You're watching TVC Breakfast. It's time to look at the headlines across Nigerian newspapers. And I have with me in the studio one of our regulars on a Tuesday like this. Oladeinde Ariyo is here. Good morning. Good to see you.
How are you?
You're welcome.
I'm back home from the university.
Oh, no, it's
I was in school.
oh, you're home now.
I'm home.
But it's good to see you home anyway.
I mean, but I'm missing classes. I've been for a 2-year course that will take maybe 4 years. Now,
you see?
I'm aging.
Kai, no, don't worry. No, you look young enough. Don't worry. All right. We also have joining us on Zoom Ambrose Igboke, PR consultant and public affairs analyst. Ambrose, good morning.
Good morning, Mike, and good morning, Oladeinde.
Great to see you. Right. Now let's begin with the Daily Sun. Daily Sun newspaper says APC convention still shaky as form sales yet to commence. Party officials desert secretariat and Kalu Rights Party forwards Abia delegates list. That's Daily Sun. All right. The Nation newspaper is talking about zoning. Anxiety in PDP over presidential tickets. All right, battle rages between North and South. A national caucus, BOT, NEC, all meet. All right, that's the Nation newspaper. Let's go to First News. First News, you are a serial betrayer. Wike hits at Obaseki. All right, these are issues that have been on for the past few days. You are a serial betrayer. Wike hits at Obaseki. All right, that's on the political side. From there, we go to Vanguard newspaper. Gloves off. Obaseki, Wike fight dirty over party issues. Gloves off. Obaseki, Wike fight dirty over party issues. Obaseki rises to Shoaibu's defense, tells Wike PDP not his personal property. Adds Rivers governor can't intimidate, cow or procure Edo people for his ambition. Wike fires back at Obaseki, says he is a serial betrayer, asks him to apologize to Oshomole. All right, all that on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. The Leadership is next. And it says states crumbling under security, economic crisis, governors warn. And lament VAT, stamp duty administration, politics around Paris Club refund. Skewed federal system has eroded states' identities. Keridoli is saying this. All that on the front page of the Leadership. Right, from there, let's go to the Punch newspaper. Blackout as national grid collapses. Federal government summons emergency meeting. Discos alert power consumers as 19 power plants record zero output. Federal government, TCN, Gencos, NNPC, oil firms, others hold marathon session. Major firms, public institutions suspend services as blackout lingers. All right, we'll be talking about this. I wonder if you have light, electricity where you're living. All right, we'll get to hear from Ambrose and Oladeinde in the studio whether they have light in their houses. All right, so let's keep this aside. The Punch will talk about it. Business Day says power outage deepening Nigeria's woes. Business Day says power outage deepening Nigeria's woes. That is what Business Day has. From there, let's go to the Blueprint newspaper that says NBET Gencos in blame game as national grid collapses. NBET Gencos in blame game as national grid collapses. Lagos, Kaduna, Enugu, Ebonyi. Others have no light. They are worst hit, according to what the Blueprint newspaper there says. Okay, we'll look at all that when we open the discussion. Now, Nigerian Tribune is next. Aviation crisis is the focus here. NNPC intervenes as airlines lament 3 days stock of fuel. NNPC intervenes as airlines lament 3 days stock of fuel. Airline operators set to get license to import Jet A1. Reps, NNPC marketers agree to bring price down to 500 naira per litre. And Nigerians may pay 120,000 naira for air ticket per seat. Oyema is saying this. And cartel sells Jet A1 630 naira against 445 naira per litre. Carrie saying this. Okay, all that on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. News Direct says fuel scarcity crisis in aviation sector worsens as airlines propose operation shutdown. Crisis in aviation sector worsens as airlines propose operation shutdown. All right, that's News Direct. From there, let's go to this Nigeria. Aviation fuel scarcity. Local airlines threaten shutdown on Thursday. From there, let's go to national economy. Nigeria faces diminishing oil fortune as a production quota drops further. Daily trusts Nigeria to lose 1.2 billion naira daily over Ajib oil export cut. Then the Guardian, which is the last one, is saying CBN in fresh plan to wean banks of cash handling risks and costs. All right, all that on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Gentlemen, let's go into this issue of grid collapse. This is not the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, 15th, or maybe 20th time.
I'm going to remind you
of the grid collapse. Now, I wonder, this grid collapse, how are you feeling the impact in your house?
I was in primary school when UpNepa started. I mean, was it UpNepa then? We started. It was ECN then.
Okay.
Gradually, the road took a flight, became NEPA. We expected changes, very drastic ones. From NEPA, it became PACN. From PACN, we now have all these GENCOs, DISCOs, and whatever. I wasn't married. I was a small child when this thing started. Today, I'm a grandfather. The same pain that I grew up to know. My children ran through it. Okay, they got married, and their children
are going through it now.
So you don't need any scientific metric to measure that it's been quota failure on that front. When I heard that, of course, I was in darkness anyway. So when I heard that they said it has collapsed again, and I was like, that's no news.
Exactly. What's the difference?
We've been waiting for it to collapse. Look, I live in a place where on my bed, I have a very heavy power bank to keep my phone on. I have a mobile power bank. It's in my bag as we talk. Everything in my house, from fan to television to radio, they are all rechargeable. I was telling my godson yesterday that, look, if you're going to marry a wife, go and look for a rechargeable wife. the way we are going.
Please, don't look for trouble this morning. Please, don't look for trouble.
What I'm putting on wasn't my desire today. But what happened? I wanted to join you and wear a suit for the first time in over 10 years. But what happened? My shirt could not be ironed.
Hi.
We can go on and on.
Right.
Another damage that this has done, even to our grammar, everybody says no light, no light. And I said, it's not light. They took power. If they give you power, you have light. You know, to let you understand the depth of the road.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Well, this has cost Nigeria lots of embarrassment so many times over. Now, Ambrose, I wonder what because Enugu State, where you are, is one of the states that is worst hit. What is the experience there? Bring us up to speed now. Let's know what your experience is.
Well, Enugu State was worst hit. In fact, we received a message in the morning from the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, EEDC, informing customers of the collapse. There was a press release from Emeka, the head of corporate communications. So yesterday, we were ready for a long haul. And unfortunately, we couldn't buy petrol because it was sit at home in the east. So we are between the devil and the deep blue sea, because you couldn't buy fuel because the filling stations were shut. And then they are giving you systems collapse. So systems collapse is not something that is very new in our lexicon, in our social life. But yesterday I was ready for the worst. I told my wife that I sent her the message and said, with the radio, there's no power. But surprisingly, just like 6 hours later, that thing happened around 11. By 6 hours later, by around 4, the power was restored. Although I cannot use my area to use as a yardstick for many other areas, because my area is high premium, and we have like 20 hours to 22 hours of power supply every day, and we are charged heavily for it. So,
so you live in the Magodo of Enugu.
In other areas.
We are coming to visit.
You can say that again. So it is bad. But just like Ariyo said, over the years we have been having this issue. We have been oscillating between 4,000 megawatts. In fact, we celebrated 7,000 megawatts at one time, where it peaked, and then it dovetailed again to grappling with 3,000, 4,000 megawatts. It is because the federal government has continued to almost exclusively provide power. It's not done. Even in the devolution of the power and in the unbundling and selling to individual companies, government still owns the ACE by the TC and Transmission Company of Nigeria. Government is still there. I mean, so where do the GENCOs, where they generate power, then somebody has to distribute. The DISCOs have to go and buy from TCN and all those kind of things. So then the obnoxious policy of not doing up to more than 10 megawatts and transmitting to national grid is still there. If these things are not solved, then we will be having this kind of charade every day. Because if IPPs, independent power plants, are allowed to run to whatever megawatts they want to provide without sending to the national grid, but within the confinement of their customer base, and then just focus on an area or a region, then we can have the improved power. But because when you have powers from the IPP and aggregate them with the one the government is doing at all levels, then you find out that when you aggregate them, you are talking about that is where countries like South Africa are talking over 60,000 megawatts. And South Africa, they are low in population, they are nowhere near us. Yet a country of over 200 million people, we are talking about 4,000 megawatts. So most parts of Nigeria is perpetually in darkness in terms of electricity. And you can think of yesterday, for example, we have not been able to quantify how many people died because of that system's collapse of electricity. We have not been able to who was in the theater table, who was being operated on, whose mother was, somebody who was going on labor, somebody who had to, so many people died because of that.
All right.
But we have not been able to quantify this kind of things.
Okay.
We don't know how many hospitals ran out of gas supply yesterday because there was no power. So it is not a good thing for Nigeria in the 21st century.
All right.
Countries are talking about going on holiday in space.
Yeah, one can only imagine, like you put it, one can only imagine the fallout of the power grid collapse on hospitals and people who depend or rely on electricity to survive and things like that. Well, in the midst of this, Oladeinde, there are still places that there has never been electricity before in the history of the world, in this part within the country. We still have those places. They are not on the grid.
They're not
yet.
missing anything.
But let's talk about this issue of the grid. We often talk about this grid, national grid, and all of that. A lot of people have advocated, instead of everybody generates electricity, put it in the pool. Right. Why don't we segment the country where if there is a collapse in this area, it affects that area. If there's a collapse here, it affects that area, and as the case may be.
I don't want to agree, but I'm beginning to convince myself that there is a deliberate plan to make things not to work in Nigeria.
But to what end?
The same way that the power situation is negatively impacted, so also is the energy situation. And those are two essentials that have the capacity to grow any economy. So many companies have left this country and they are located in our neighboring Ghana.
Yeah.
Why? Power issue. So many companies are here whose cost of operation has gone northwards, skywards. Why? They have had to generate power by themselves. I don't want to mention their names, otherwise I'll be guilty of advertising them. When you look at that, if individual enterprises are being forced to leave the country, imagine the round-robin effect on those who work there and have dependent relatives who partake in whatever income they earn. Imagine the effect on employment and unemployment vis-a-vis crime rates now. Okay? So that's why I said perhaps it was deliberate. Because if we say national grid, without being an engineer, an electrical engineer, I can tell you that here, the whatever motive was behind it is no longer being served. And we ought to have known that, look, the way to go is to decentralize. But for whatever reason, we keep being there. Now, the so-called transmission company of Nigeria suffers heavy power leakages. What do I mean? When the Genco, generate, they pass it to them for transmission. Between Genco and Transco, so much power would have been lost in the system. By the time it gets to the discos, who are supposed to be retailers, they still have less to give out. We've been doing these things the same way for decades, and it's not working. Somebody calls it madness, doing things the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. So why don't we take a look at alternatives? The same way that we are saying, let's not start planning humongous refinery of Dangote size. Let's do regional refineries, modular ones, right? That maybe we use the political divisions, southwest, northwest, northeast, southeast, and south.
Okay.
Perhaps if we try that, it will not be, like you said, if southwest have issues, it won't affect southeast.
Yeah.
Life won't be shut down there. But what do we have? Everywhere, unfortunately now, we are paying more for electricity.
Yes.
And we are getting darkness.
All right. Well, the point there is, one would say it's only logical for one to expect that they are working hard to ensure they restore all of these. Recall that the government has signed a deal with Siemens, and we hope that one way or the other.
We cannot be living on hopeless hope.
Yeah.
This hope, this assurance has failed repeatedly.
Yeah.
Well, we want results.
All right, Nigerians, of course, we want result, and we hope for that result to come out. Thank you so much, Oladeinde Ariyo, for coming on the program. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ambrose Igboke, thank you very much for your time on the program as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike, for having me.
Right.